I was about 20 years old, and I reached out to a family friend of mine, Mike. He was retired gunnery sergeant, drill instructor, Marine Corps. And I had him go with me to my recruiter just to kind of feel him out, just to make sure I wasn't getting misled on anything, You want to make sure you're making the right choice. So he went in there and talked to him with me and kind of shook him down a little bit, made sure everything was solid. I mean, looking at all my brothers in my platoon, we were all changed men on the way home. Once we got back stateside, my parents were there, mom and dad. To be honest with you, when that bus pulled in, I wanted to get my bags and get the heck out of there. I was ready to go stay in a hotel, just unwind, go have my first beer. I think my parents could definitely tell, looking me in the eyes, that I was a changed man after that deployment. You can talk about things with your Marine guys and your parents. It's a whole different level of trust, and just like, I didn't come home from deployment and tell my parents, like, yeah, watch them carry people in and wheelbarrows and dump them off blown up at our gates. Like, I didn't talk to my parents about that stuff.
Right.
I didn't talk to them about stepping over IEDs, I just wanted them to think I was fine and move on. Honestly, I didn't share all the gritty details of deployment. Seeing Afghan people wheeled in wheelbarrows to our base, blown up, kids. I mean, having RPGs bouncing across the ground by me, I definitely was not talking to mom and dad about that when I got home. I still don't even talk to them about it, so. The group I was with over there made it way easier over the holidays. The tight brotherhood and bonds that we had built filled the gaps that we were missing with being with our families through the holidays. It's hard to beat it. I mean, even Thanksgiving, we actually sent one of our interpreters out in the bazaar and with some money, and he bought us a whole bunch of food from out in the bazaar, and we had a big chicken meal and everything there on base. It was cool. So yeah, there was a lot of hard times, a lot of scary times, but the camaraderie, the brotherhood, I wouldn't take it back for anything at all. It's hands down the best decision I ever made in my life. While we were out and about, a lot of us, we used to just carry a ranger roll, which is a tarp and a poncho liner, and you tie it together. Well, on the colder nights, we tied it together into a jumbo fire team size sleeping bag, and we were all sleeping back to back. But you got to do what you got to do to stay warm. We had our boots on, so. We had another time where one of the Husky drivers, his air conditioning had went out, and a Husky's just a little single cab up armored vehicle that uses ground penetrating radar to scan for IEDs under the ground, and it has a rake behind it. So if it goes over any, it can scoop them up. But had one of the guys, his air conditioning had went out, and he basically about passed out up in there, and we had to dismount and go up and get him pulled out and everything. And you go up to touch the vehicle, and that up armored metal, you wouldn't even think it, not having a glove on, but it was like grabbing a skillet, So on that deployment, we had successfully, we hadn't had any strikes on us. We had found, I think, 2 or 3 IEDs throughout the deployment, and EOD took care of them. Thankfully, our Husky drivers did a great job doing their job, and was able to get them out, and our gunners to spot the pressure plates and everything once they were unearthed. And it was definitely a team effort. It's not one sole person out there when you're on route clearance. It's all of us together, working together to clear the route. So just because we're out of the Marine Corps doesn't mean we can't still check up on each other. That's important. That's been huge for me. A A lot of us guys, we still get together and talk, but reach out, talk to your guys. For the longest time, thinking about deployment, I've basically numbed myself, put it in the back of my head, not really talked about a lot of it. And here in the past couple of years, I found, honestly, as uncomfortable as it can be, to get into the grit and talk about some of the things we've done or seen, or some of the feelings that we feel, it actually does help out a lot. So after being on a couple deployments and being throughout the world and everything, it really hits me hard to hear Americans complain about America when honestly, they don't have a clue how good we have it in this country. That hot shower you have every night, that bed you sleep in, there's people living in mud houses overseas, brushing their teeth in a creek. Like, suck it up. It's really, we live in the greatest country in the world, you know? So me hearing people complain about that, it upsets me, definitely. So like I said, this is the greatest country in the world. So would I do it all over again? Absolutely. Don't even have to think twice about it, honestly. It's been a couple years now, but I was at the chiropractor, and next thing you know, ba-boom, huge explosion. And that basically I was like back in country feeling, and the chiropractor's like, that was just thunder. And I'm like, that was an explosion, man. Like, I was ready to get
You were freaked out.
I was ready to get the hell out of there, like kick the door down and get out of there. And what had happened is somebody had hit a gas main, and it blew up like a couple blocks away. But I tell you what, like, just the heart rate, it went through the roof, and it was...
Yeah, put you right back in country.
So after busting out the detector and everything, because I mean, we'd all kind of flipped through our books a little bit ahead and just kind of seeing what other things our job entailed, and had been kind of talking about it on the side, like, oh, did you see that chapter? Like, metal detectors, what's that? You know, and then when they actually busted out and start talking about the mines, and then start talking about Afghanistan, Iraq, where this is real shit. Like, we're gonna be doing this. Like, this is not just back in the day mine sweeping, it's real deal. So
did you know you suffered from PTSD when you got home from that first deployment, or no?
I think the biggest thing with a lot of that, Jay, is we've been in the Marine Corps, we're tough, and the hardest thing is admitting that we actually have changed.
Right.
That
you're not broken.
Honestly, that took years for me to get to that point of admitting to myself that I am different. And you know, I definitely knew after that first deployment. There was a couple times, like, probably even freaked my mom out after my first deployment. I had left my truck back home. Well, I was driving back out to California with it, and I'd fallen asleep in the truck while she was driving, and I don't know, I woke up and I kicked the dash, and it was like, oh, sorry, Mom. It was like, just...
Right.
But...
And so at that point, are you starting to think, wow, something is different, or I am, or did you just...
Honestly, I kept it bottled up until I was out, Jay.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep deploying with my guys. And
how did your mom and dad, did they notice a change in you after the first deployment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did they ask you about it or no?
I think they'd ask if I was all right and everything, but they didn't want to poke too hard on it either. They kind of just let me have my space.
If that bothered you at all. And because a lot of the guys and gals that I talk to say, you know, it bothered them only to the point where it's like, I'm fine, what do you mean, right? Like, you know, maybe if one, they didn't realize it, or two, they just didn't come to terms with the fact that maybe they had changed a little, that it actually irritated them, that not only the parents, but just friends and others would, you're like, what do you mean? I'm fine. What are you talking about?
A lot of times when we were out, I would tell my guys, you know, step directly in my footprints, you know. There's so many low metallic IEDs over there. I mean, we have great technology and detectors and everything, but they've gotten pretty good at making them. So, like I said, I would have my guys follow my footsteps and please don't veer off the path. I mean, unlike the first deployment, this was the hottest I've ever been, and definitely hot over there. And the conditions, having my dog, we had one time we're in a convoy and the air conditioning went out in the truck, which, you know, whatever, air conditioning in America, well, it's 120 degrees in a up armored vehicle. You can't roll the window down.
Yeah.
So it was hot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm trying to give Boomer an IV while the truck's bouncing around and we're going down the road and everything, and keep him from being a heat casualty just as much as the rest of us in the truck. And yeah, it was definitely interesting. And after getting out of the Marine Corps a few short months, I got into the IBEW as an inside wireman apprentice. And I'll never forget being on those first couple job sites. I hadn't even been back from country, more than 6 months, and just hearing some of the bangs and everything that's involved in construction. Shit, I was over there jumping, you know, and some of the journeymen I was working with, they're like giggling until I explain. It's like, hey, buddy, I haven't even been back from country for over a year. You know, it definitely took some getting used to. I think over time, it's helped, but I mean, still jump at bangs now too. So honestly, after being out of the Marine Corps, the brotherhood of the IBEW has been great for me. I've made some great close friends that have been very supportive of me being a veteran and some of the things that I've been through and stuff like that. It just like another branch of brotherhood to help lean on, and I'm very thankful for that too.
You just said something that I think was pretty interesting, and that's how good it was to be back on American soil. And the reason is that you know you're safe.
Yeah. A lot of people take that for granted.
Every day.
Every day.